Spiritual experience, mystical experience, spiritual gifts, are those things helping you or hindering your Christian life? G'day, I'm Brendan. I'm a pastor in Outback Australia, and today I want to share some thoughts with you on 1 Corinthians 12 to 14 and all about spirituality. When you open up 1 Corinthians 12, it's very easy to think that these chapters are about spiritual gifts. I mean, chapter 12, verse 1 starts with spiritual gifts. But it's important to note that the word gifts is not actually in that verse. The word that is often translated spiritual gifts, the word gifts is not actually there in the original. In the original, we just have the word spirituals. It's hard to know what that is. Is it spiritual things, spiritual persons? Either could work. Really, I think Paul is talking about spirituality. He's talking to the Corinthians about what true spirituality looks like. And true spirituality is confessing Jesus Christ as Lord. It's submitting to him. It's not about how amazing your experiences are. It's not about what gifts you have, whether you can speak in tongues, whether you see miracles. Those things can actually be harmful to the church if they're not used properly. They can be, just like the Corinthians did, they can be used to rub people's faces in it. You haven't got the gift I've got. You end up with inferiority complexes and superiority complexes. You end up with divisions in the church. All sorts of problems can stem from a misunderstanding of gifts. Another thing worth noting is that, yes, these chapters talk about spiritual gifts. Later on, Paul does talk about those things. But in other chapters of the Bible, like Ephesians 4 or in the book of Romans, I think it's Romans 12, Paul there talks about the gifts coming from God the Father or coming from Christ. Christ gave gifts to his church. So to think of them as purely spiritual gifts, as if it's only from the Spirit, is actually to misread the Bible. These are Trinitarian gifts. They're gifts that come from the Godhead himself. Also, we've got to remember when we're reading 1 Corinthians 12 to 14 that Paul's trying to show us the right way that gifts fit into the Christian life and into church life. The gifts are valuable and they're helpful and they're good and they shouldn't be despised, but they're not the priority. The priority is to pursue love. That's what Paul says. I'll show you the most excellent way. It's to pursue love. And gifts, well, they're not going to last forever. They're going to fade away. Gifts, well, if you have the most amazing, miraculous, incredible gift, like Paul talks about in 1 Corinthians 13, and you don't have love, well, you can be a banging gong. You can be nothing. It's not actually that helpful. And there's that amazing little passage right in the middle of 1 Corinthians 13 where Paul says, love is patient, love is kind. Do you remember that one? What's an amazing thing to do? This is what I think the Corinthians were probably feeling when they were reading it, is replace your name with the word love. Love is patient. Brendan is patient. Oh, geez. I think about the other day, was not patient. Brendan is, and just put your name in each one. It's very cutting. I think as the Corinthians were reading this passage, they would have felt very exposed. They would have gone, wow, in our obsession with gifts, we're not actually being loving. But you know what else you can do? Put Jesus' name in those places where love is. Jesus is patient. Jesus is kind. And that helps you see the gospel clearly. That's why we love one another, is because Jesus has loved us that way. And when we see that and when we digest that and obsess and pore over that, when we pursue that, well, that's actually when we start getting gifts in the right place. Gifts are great and they're a wonderful, good thing. But they're only good if they're used in the service of building up God's people. That's why pursuing love is the priority. And chapter 14 really is trying to demonstrate how we get that balance right of pursuing love. We need to make sure the gifts are building up God's people, strengthening and helping God's people. That's why things are to be done orderly and things are to be done clearly and in a way that is intelligible. They're the sort of gifts we should desire most. So there's a couple of thoughts on it. There's heaps more that we could say, but I hope that is helpful and gets you thinking about love and gifts and what true spirituality is. At its heart, It's about having Jesus Christ as Lord and knowing his love and loving just like Jesus did. The gifts, they come after that. They're important, but the priority is Jesus. Hope that's helpful, and hope that's something you can think and pray about.